Hi everyone, and welcome. I'd like to take you back to 2016. I was in London. In 2016, Brexit happened. Pokemon Go was really big. Everyone was crazy about it. And a small company called Revolut launched about 6 months prior. Now, as I mentioned, I was working in fintech in London, in the Silicon Roundabout, and I got invited to a party organized by a fintech, and I gladly went, of course, why not? It's fun in Shoreditch. I got there, the party was awesome, it had everything. It had a piñata, it had customized signature cocktails, and it had a lot of people who worked in fintech. Lots of people who were very excited about just changing the way banking and financial services is done. And I was walking around the office and I noticed something on a wall. And there were just these realistic pictures of people and kind of lots of descriptions and kind of words around them. And I realized those are customer personas. That's really cool. So I went to the CEO and I asked, what's up with the customer personas? What do you do with them? And he said, you know what, it's actually a really, really useful tool because we're a small startup. We are looking to help people better manage their finances. And we don't always have the time and the resources to go and talk to every single customer out there. So we created these personas who are based on real people who are interested in our product, who use it. And whenever we need to do testing on the product, we need to iterate, we need to ship fast, we put our persona hat on and we test with our persona hat on. And this is how we manage to get things out quicker. And I was like, wow, that's really, really cool. So obviously that was a really fortunate encounter because now I have a cool story to tell. But also I realized that personas are an incredibly wonderful tool that also aligns with the lean startup principles and help you iterate and help you develop your product faster in a manner that actually resonates with what customers want. So for those who don't know me, my name is Doina. I actually started working in startups about 10 years ago in Bucharest. I worked in a company called Bookster. Back then, I was the 4th person who joined the team, and right now it's established scale-up that had a successful exit in Romania. But after a year or so, I decided that I really want to pursue my dream, and that was to go and study in the UK. I really wanted to go to London, so I did, and I got my master's degree at University College London. And that's where I discovered this exciting world of tech startups. It was buzzing. And fintech was the biggest thing in London at that point, even though it was kind of at the beginning. And we still think that London is number 2 in the world in fintech. And I started working in fintechs and I had various roles, mainly in strategy. Then I moved to Ernst & Young as a strategy consultant for fintechs and banks, helping them innovate, helping them figure out what to do in the new changing world. And now I work for Experian, which is a credit scoring company. I also work in a strategy role. I work closely with the C-level to ensure that Experian stays competitive and that it develops the best financial technology products out there, particularly in the credit space. So this is my experience. Over the years, I had the chance to talk to lots and lots of startups, as well as scale-ups, and to sort of help them innovate, help them better compete in the market, and help deliver value to customers through tools that are inspired by the lean startup. And 2 of such tools are the ones that I want to talk about today, and those are personas and the value proposition canvas. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to first talk about personas, then the value proposition canvas, and then we're going to go into an exciting practical exercise. This is why you have all the papers on the tables, where you'll get to build your own value proposition for kind of a fintech product or service. So what are customer personas anyway? What are they? They are a framework, a way of thinking about your customer that help you humanize that customer. What does that really mean? You know, when we start a company, we try to gather a lot of data about our kind of usage of the platform or of the app or whatever it is. And we have all these numbers on dashboards. You know, we have the number of website visits, we have the number of app downloads, we have the number of, I don't know, conversion rates of sorts. But who is it behind all those numbers? Obviously, tracking numbers is very good. I'm the #1 advocate of that. But also understanding who stands behind those numbers is very important. And this is where customer personas come in. They help you humanize that number. They help you give your customer a voice. They help you give your customer a name, maybe a photo. Maybe you look at their age, what they do for a living, where do they live. You look at what their preferences are, what their lifestyle choices are. You look at their challenges and needs and goals, and you also look at their behavior patterns. How do they like to communicate? What kind of media do they consume? And then finally, you try to add in a little bit of flavor about their voice. So you try to add in a quote from them saying, you know, how do they use your product, or what would they like to see in a product. So this cloud of various information is what constitutes a customer persona. And I guess the question is, how does it look like? You know, we'll get to that in a minute. What I wanted to talk to you about first is, okay, personas are great, but what's the difference between a persona and a target audience? Because this is what we usually talk about as well. And I would say I like to think about personas and target audience as the difference between climate and weather. So climate is very general. You know, you say, okay, we have a very mild climate. It's warm, it's mild, it's temperate. We get cold winters and hot summers. It's very generalistic. You kind of understand what the general principles are, but you can't really specifically picture a particular day. Now the weather is really specific. You know, it goes day by day. Now you open your app on your phone and you can see, okay, at 3 p.m. it's going to rain, so I got to take an umbrella with me. So it's very, very specific. You know what kind of elements you can expect during the day, either sunshine or rain, or what temperature is going to be. So you get a very specific picture about that particular day. And this is what personas are, right? Personas are more specific representations of your customers as opposed to the target audience, which is quite a broad definition. It's like, okay, the 25 to 35-year-old students that like to shop online. This is what the target audience is. When you talk about personas, you talk about a specific person, about the context in which they live, how they behave, what do they want, and what do they need. So, how does it look like? It looks something like this. Now, it doesn't have to look exactly like this. You can change the template as you wish, but generally, these elements stay the same. So we have here Anna. She's an extroverted, driven, empathetic 27-year-old. She's a project manager, and she lives in Chisinau at the moment. We also have a bit of a detailed description here at the bottom about her life, what she does, who she is. You know, we know that she's a Taylor Swift fan, and she loves to travel, and She loves to go to the gym, and she recently picked up boxing, maybe as a stress reliever, we don't know, but this is what it is. She's very organized, and she also loves to spend time with her friends. And then we look at her goals. We try to understand what is she looking to achieve. And we also look at behavior. What are some of the behavior characteristics that she displays? Then we also have a section that looks at motivation. And motivation is around what are the key things that she values when using a particular app or service. What are those key things that drive her to use them? And then at the bottom, as I mentioned, we have that quote. Usually here, it would be a quote from the customer saying what they like about your particular product. So they would say, I love using this app because it helps me to do X, Y, Z. It solves me this problem. Obviously, this is a bit of a more generic persona that I built here, so it doesn't refer a particular product. And then we also look at the world of brands that Anna is surrounded with. So, some of her favorite brands, where does she get information from, where does she read her news from, what kind of digital footprint she has, just to understand a little bit more about her life, her interactions, but also how she would like to be reached, how she would enjoy being communicated to. Maybe she's not really on Facebook anymore, so there's no point in trying to reach out on Facebook. Maybe she's kind of spending all her time on Instagram, so that would be a good place to start. So yeah, just kind of painting the picture of what her life looks like, what are the key things that she uses daily, and also what her goals and motivations are. Helps us humanize the user and really paint a picture in our heads about who the person using our product, buying our product is. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What do you think? What are these useful for? What can we use them for in our companies? Any ideas? Like, let's think that you started a company 6 months ago. You sort of reached an MVP stage. What can you use it for?
Focus.
Focus, okay. In what sense, focus?
Focus the efforts of developing features, picking up features, excluding features.
Correct, excluding features. Yes, that's a really good one, because you really need to know what to include, but also what to exclude. Anything else? Yes?
Remembering who the product is for.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel companies can forget.
They forget, yeah. You get excited about, building your product and scaling it, and then you're like, wait, but what did we start this for? Who did we start this for? Yeah. Anything else? Yes, marketing, yeah. Marketing is a really big one, knowing how to reach your customer and really kind of use the channels that they are most sensitive to.
Communicate and what to speak on, what values to focus on.
Exactly, the tone, the messaging, yes, exactly. Last suggestion, anyone? No? Before we go into the next slide, which unsurprisingly contains all of these suggestions. I guess the one thing I would say at the very beginning, what personas do, they really instill a culture within your team to think about the customer first. So I've seen quite a few startups that have these personas on the walls, just because they remind the teams, be that development teams or sales teams or marketing teams, about the customer. Who are they doing this for? You're going to help Anna to do X, Y, Z. You're really going to help her sort out her bills so she can get to boxing quicker, because that's the new hobby that she really likes. So it's just things like that, just building that culture within the team the customer-centric culture, which is really, really important. And sometimes as we try to build and scale our company, we sort of, the teams start doing their own little thing, right? So like sales is trying to sell more because they have targets and they have to reach them and the salary depends on that. And then the product tries to do all these cool features because they look really cool and the competition is doing them. And then everyone is sort of starting to run in different directions. And I feel like the customer centricity part is what brings people back together. And this is what personas can do for a team early on, instill this culture, this habit of thinking about the customer first. And then, you know, as you build your company, personas can help you validate your assumptions about your customer. So when you start a company, you have some assumptions. Well, I believe that our customers will be these people and they're going to buy from us in these ways, and this is how we're going to reach them. And as you start to get traction in the market, you gather all this information about your customers and you create the personas and you validate, right? Were we right or were we wrong? Should we adjust our strategy in one way or another based on what we have learned? Of course, you are able to develop more compelling value propositions if you have a focused personas in mind, people with real needs. You are able to develop propositions that actually solve their problems. And this is a point that we're going to talk about further for the value proposition canvas. And we're going to try to understand, you know, once we know our customer, how do we actually build products that customers want. And then, of course, guide product development. We talked about this, kind of designing the features, testing them, shipping them, and so on. It's really helpful with that. Marketing and sales, of course, it's a really big thing. And one of the companies I worked for, which is now quite a successful scale-up in London, at some point, I remember we were kind of trying to align sales and product because they were, as I was saying, they were starting to do kind of their own little thing. And we built the customer personas, and we had 6 customer personas. This was a business-to-business business. So it was selling, offering financing for SMEs. And as you can imagine, there are different personas there. So SMEs can be very different, of different sizes. And sometimes you sell to a person and then the person leaves and then you have someone who has inherited that solution. So there were 6 personas. And it really helped the sales team in particular focus. So when they were talking to a customer and they were like, oh, I'm talking to Greg. You know, I'm talking to a Greg at the moment. Greg has these needs. Let me just adjust my messaging in such and such way so they actually progress through the sales funnel accordingly. And again, we had them everywhere. I still I vividly remember them now to this day, these personas. So they were incredibly helpful to kind of bring the teams together and kind of align efforts to grow the revenue. And I think one aspect that I really like to mention at an early stage, when you're just starting out, obviously you don't have a lot of data about the customers. Like you don't really have users, you don't have really customers. Of course, you can use third-party research. So just research the market and see, okay, what kind of users do our competitors have? What kind of industry reports are there? How do we understand different behavioral patterns of people in the market at the moment? What could be interesting for an early stage startup would be to create these anti-personas. So basically, these are the people we're not selling to, you know? We definitely know that we do not want these people to be our customers because it can get very distracting very quickly as you're trying to build your company. It can get, overwhelming, but wait, these guys might want to be our customers and then these guys might want, so who do we who do we go after? Where do we focus our efforts? So it would be very helpful to kind of define who we don't want as customers and what we don't want to do. So it's just as important to think about, as a company, what you want to do, but also what you don't want to do. And just say, you know what, we don't want to do this at the moment. We're just going to focus on these other things. So yeah, as I said, personas can really help you build a product that customers actually want to buy, and also be able to reach and approach your customers in a way that they want and in a way that they actually love. So now that we know what personas are for, and we're convinced they're very useful, how do we actually build them? Like, where do we get all this information from? It's really a kind of aggregation of different sources. So it can be customer surveys, it can be customer interviews, so actually going and talking to customers, asking them questions about their needs and wants and the products let's say if you're at the beginning, you can ask them about a solution they currently use and what do they hate or love about that particular solution. You can get data from customer feedback. Of course, sales data is very important, and I think, as the company scales and let's say it has more salespeople, interviewing sales reps. Sometimes, people, perhaps product or even strategy, they sit there and they do their own thing and they don't cross over to talk to the salespeople, because the salespeople are the people who talk to your customers every day. So they know what they want and why they don't want to buy or why they want to buy. And interviewing sales reps and really getting their opinion and perspective on things can be incredibly useful. Of course, nowadays you can get lots of analytics from your own platform or website or even social platforms and integrate that into the personas. And as I mentioned, third-party research. So any kind of information that's out there about behavioral patterns amongst different types of consumers is also useful. But obviously, once you have all this data, you start reading through it and making sense of it, and you're going to start noticing certain patterns, right? So it almost becomes like, okay, so there's like a clump of customers that are with sort of these characteristics that say these things and want these things. And you're going to start grouping them. And then slowly your personas are going to emerge out of there. And then once you have that, you can put them into the framework. And then you can, I encourage you to not just put that framework on a shelf and let it sit, but actually use it and refer to it and just think, okay, so what would Anna do? What problem would I help Anna solve at the moment with this new feature that we're looking to develop? Or would Anna mind if I send her 3 emails in a row reminding her about her account in a week? Just this kind of questions, keeping the persona in mind when you're trying to either design a marketing campaign or a sales campaign or develop a new feature. So kind of reaching the end of this section, I would like to say that it's really important to still be focused about your personas. So don't be tempted to create like 10 personas. If you're a small company, you probably don't need 10 personas. It's usually a mistake, and it sort of beats the purpose, because the persona is supposed to focus you. It's supposed to center you, to give you a little bit of grounding, so to say. And then when you have too many, it just defeats the purpose. Relying on assumptions only. So I've seen companies who tend to do personas for the sake of doing personas, because everyone is doing personas, and they think they should be doing personas as well. And they're just thinking that, okay, so I assume that my customer does this, and I assume my customer does that, and they just put something on paper. And that's not helpful at all, because then you can't really use that to make meaningful decisions, because it's not going to be based on true data, right? So you really need to make sure that the data accuracy is there, and it's not just some assumptions that you've thought of that your customers behave in a certain way or another. Of course, making them too generic is another problem, and kind of the assumptions and making them generic kind of go together. As I mentioned, it's really important to try to be specific, to paint a certain picture about that person, to almost hear them speak in your mind. So like you read the paper about the persona, and you're like, I can almost hear their voice when I read that quote. This is how they sound like in my head. And then finally, neglecting to refine and update personas. So a startup is an incredibly dynamic organization. It's a dynamic endeavor. The fact that you built some personas doesn't mean that they're going to stay the same in 3 months, in 6 months, in a year. So obviously you know your business best, but it's good to revise those periodically as often as it makes sense for your business, and update those. Because again, if you look at them and they're not relevant anymore, then you are making decisions based on out-of-date data. Yeah, it's very important to keep them up to date. So I kind of want to conclude this section with a quote that I heard recently, actually, very recently. So this is from David Breyer. He's the CEO and founder of 11FS, which is a super innovative fintech consultancy and I think VC in London. I think they've kind of just launched their venture arm as well. And he was saying that, often banks, the big incumbent organizations, get fixated with features, and that can be the ever so popular features included, sort of launched by Revolut and others, like card freezing and peer-to-peer payments and money pots, where you can save for different goals. But the real step change is not really what fintech has done. So it's not really the features that fintech has brought to the market. It's really the way in which it has done it. And I'm confident that he refers here to thinking about the customer need first. So not starting with a cool feature, but starting with often with a personal frustration, often with, seeing people struggle to do certain things in their daily lives, and thinking, well, there's got to be a better way to do it, and creating a solution for that need, for a specific person, to help them get a job done. Before I move on to the next section, how's everyone feeling? Good? Yeah? The energy is good?
Sure.
Yeah?
I have a question.
Yes, please. Questions at any point you want, so, yeah.
So we have multiple personas or multiple persons in a company that takes a decision. So for example, one person takes the decision,
Yeah.
but the other one uses actually the product.
Yeah.
So you should build customer personas for each person, or you should focus more on the one that's using the product?
I think it depends what you want to use it for. So if you want to use it for product development, it's most likely that you should probably think about the user personas. If you want to use it for sales, then probably the buyer persona. So what you're talking here, it's the user persona versus buyer persona. So the buyer persona is the person who is actually going to buy from you, and the user persona is the person who is going to use. And let's take, for example, a consumer app. Let's take a banking app of sorts. You are both the buyer and the user. So you are the one who is going to pay for whatever extra features that particular banking app is going to give you. But let's say the example of the company I was working for, so the fintech that was offering financing to SMEs, sometimes the person who is actually using the platform to withdraw the money, to, I don't know, do certain transactions is maybe the accountant, but the person who the company sold to, the decision maker, is different because that's, I don't know, maybe it's the CFO or someone else in the finance team. So yeah, I guess it depends where you want to focus your efforts at that particular moment. So you can either focus on users, or you can focus on buyers, or you can do both. So, yeah.
You mentioned keeping the personas up to date. What are some notable factors that bring to a change in persona?
Yeah, so I think if the company has noticeably pivoted to a different product, so maybe if the company is honing into a subset of features of a previous product, the personas might change. Also, if the company is growing exponentially, it might reach, actually, like your initial early adopters might be very different from the people that end up using your product as you scale. So if you see that there is a rapid pace of change in terms of customer numbers, you might want to use personas to look at what type of users or potential customers are there. And particularly, I think if you see that you're growing really fast, let's say you are a platform or an app that customers can sign up for, but then there's a paid service within that app. So in order for you to make revenue, they have to actually buy something from the app, from within the app. Then you can see that, oh, you know, my conversion rates were great at the beginning because I had all my early adopters, but then I'm getting lots and lots of people sign up to my service and they're not converting. Why is that? So that's when you go in and you try to understand, okay, so what is this user persona? What is important for them? And how can I tailor my messaging? How can I tailor my product so they can actually go in and actually buy and convert more? Because the early adopters might be very different from the mass customers afterwards. Okay. Oh, one more question. Okay.
What are the right questions to ask when discovering, when doing customer?
So I think things around, obviously try to find out more about their life. So what they do for a job, are they married or not, do they have kids? So kind of try to understand about their world. Then try to understand what they love using about your product, what they hate using about your product, what feature they would like to see, or set of features that they would like to see developed next. What is the biggest hurdle or the biggest impediment from them using it more? So, you know, is there something that stops them, or is just something that makes the app less appealing to them? I don't know. So they don't use it as often. Yeah, I think just things like that around the usage of the product to try to, but I think it depends what problem you're solving for. So I think the questions are kind of, so once you're faced with a problem, the questions kind of are falling into place, I think. So once you're like, well, I need to align sales and product better, okay, we're going to figure out how we're going to look at, okay, trying to get testimonials from clients about what features they love, what kind of problems we're solving, what kind of pain points we're solving for them, bring out the voice of the customer, things like that. Or, I don't know, if you're trying to hone in on product development, then it would be more specific questions about features and usage and things like that. So I think it depends on what's the exam question at hand. Classic consultant response, it depends. Okay, any other questions or we're good to move on? Okay. All right, so before I move on to the next section, I'm going to tell you another story about milkshakes. But before that, I'm going to ask you, has anyone heard about Clayton Christensen? No? What about the jobs to be done framework? Yes, good, good. Okay, so Clayton Christensen is a very influential Harvard Business School professor and consultant who is considered the father of disruptive innovation. He coined this term and he popularized the term jobs to be done. And how did he do that? Well, from a story about milkshakes. So I think back in 2009-ish, he got hired by a fast food company to help them increase their sales of milkshakes. So the fast food company did everything they could. So they went out and figured out what's the ideal or typical profile of a milkshake consumer. They tried to tailor their products and advertising and marketing to that. It didn't work. They then went to their customers and asked them, well, what would you like to see in the milkshakes? What do you think would make the best milkshake ever? And the customers spoke and they did it, and the sales didn't really go up. So they decided to bring in a consultant, and that was Clayton Christensen. So Clayton and his team, they actually went to one of the restaurants that was really struggling with the milkshake sales, and they just observed the customers buying the milkshakes. So what they noticed after day one is that the majority of the milkshakes were bought between 7 and 9 in the morning. And they're usually bought by people who had a very long commute to work. So they had to drive to work for a long time. So he was like, okay, interesting. So I'll come back the next day and actually go up to them and ask them, what did you hire this milkshake to do? What job did you hire this milkshake to do? And they said, well, I'm hungry. I don't manage to have breakfast at home, so I go up to the fast food restaurant and I just get a milkshake because it has a very thick consistency. It's quite a lot of liquid, so I can easily grab it when I'm in the car, and it keeps me full until lunchtime. So it basically solves the job of eating breakfast because I am hungry and I need to eat my breakfast, and I can't really eat anything else because it's very hard for me to eat like a bagel or, I don't know, a sandwich or anything else in the car. So the story here is that really the milkshake solved a very particular specific need of the customer, and because of that, because it addressed a customer pain point, it also had a very compelling value proposition for them. Hence, the customer was buying the milkshake. So how do we create these compelling value propositions, right? We have our personas. We kind of know what our customers do, what they want, what they need. Okay, how do we do the next step, actually building the value proposition? Well, there's another framework that I like called the value proposition canvas, and it's really consisting of two parts: one, the customer profile, and two, the value map. And the customer profile is really, and this is where the persona comes into play. This is what informs the customer profile. I think they are very much overlapping. It's the stage where we observe our customers, right? So we observe what our customers' jobs are. So what are they trying to get done? And jobs can be functional, so they're looking to solve a very specific problem, like I need to wash my clothes, so I need something to wash my clothes with. Or I need to transfer money, so I need some kind of way of transferring those money to someone else. Or they can be social, and that is about maybe gaining a reputation or increasing your network. Or they can be emotional. So I want a product to make me feel a certain way. So I'm kind of chasing a particular feeling that I get when using something. Social media might be the case, giving us that dopamine hit. Then we also think about the customer pain. So that can be any negative experiences that they have, obstacles, risks, maybe even negative emotions they experience when trying to get those jobs done. And then we also think about the gains. So what are the benefits that the consumers are expecting? And maybe some things that they could be pleasantly surprised by. After that, we start going into the design phase. So this is when we think about our products and services. So we think about what features we might want to include to particularly help customers to get those jobs done. And then finally, the two things that kind of address the big pain points and gains are the pain relievers. So how does your product kind of help remove the customer pains? And how does your product create those customer gains? So how does your product help your customers achieve those benefits that you really, really want? And coming back to the customer profile, I think a big mistake that people make is basically merging the jobs with the gains. So they don't really differentiate between the job that the customer is trying to achieve and the benefit that they're trying to get. And another one is that they come in with a bias. So they come in with a product in mind, and they're sort of trying to reverse engineer. Okay, so I kind of want to build this feature, so what would be the need that I'm going to address, and what would be the customer job I'm going to try to address? So that's not really how this is done. Not in this exercise, at least. In order to get the real value out of it, you need to come and look at the customer first, really forget about any products, any features, anything else. Just look at the customer, try to understand what jobs they're trying to get done. What are their pains, and then build products that match the things that you found out about your customers. So then this is when you manage to achieve something called problem-solution fit. From there you can get product-market fit, and from there you can really scale your product. Don't try to address every single job and every single pain point of your customer. I think it would be impossible to build an all-encompassing product that would achieve every single thing they're trying to do. Just try to focus on the main ones, on the most important ones, and start from there. Any questions? No? Great, good, because this is when the fun begins. So you're going to be creating your own fintech value proposition. You've got 2 customer personas. So each table has 1 customer persona, but they're different. You have an Alex and you have an Anna. And using your Post-its, try to fill in the value proposition map. I would say forgive my drawing because I did these drawings of the squares and the circles. They don't look perfectly drawn, but I hope you get the point. And you have, let's see how much. Let's try to give you 20 minutes and then reconvene and see where you are. Might give you 10 more if you still need them. But yeah, good luck. If you have any questions, I'm here. Aș vrea să ofer fiecare echipe câte 2 minute ca să ne spună despre propunerea lor de valoare. Dacă vreți să dați un nume serviciului sau echipei, cu mare plăcere, aveți liber la creativitate, așa că cine vrea să meargă primul? Păi, ok?
Da, sigur. Echipa noastră Fintech Nomads, noi am dezvoltat o soluție și următoarea unique value proposition. Deci, our app helps digital nomads with money management by saving bank trips and increasing visibility over spending, and also offering better conditions.
Cool, very nice. Okay, so it's a fintech app that basically helps customers better manage their money. How does it do that?
Yeah, exactly. We have lower commissions than other fintechs, and no commission when transferring to the same app as ours. We also have cool features such as monthly reminders of our spendings and
Okay.
offering us tips and tricks how we can save other money.
Okay.
Also, we know that Anna is a travel lover, and we also organize raffles for travel tickets inside
okay.
our app. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, we focus on customer, and we do surveys. That's why you have a good UX, user experience, and our customers give us the best reviews.
Perfect. Congratulations. Well done. Well done, Fintech Nomads. All right. Who wants to go next?
Our fintech app helps young entrepreneurs with simple invoicing and financial planning by automated recognition of financial data and one-click overdraft.
Amazing.
Yes.
Very nice.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so what are some of the gain creators that you identified that are really going
Gain
to
creators.
move the
it's,
needle for this entrepreneur?
With our persona, we find out that the end gain creator is one-click credit, where they want to have credit because they don't have time to wait for the banks.
Yes.
So our app is analyzing their financials
Yep.
and is giving them a piece of overdraft when they need it for their entrepreneurial needs.
Yes. So basically, your app is helping them invoice better and faster. This way, you get access to their data.
Yes.
This way, you understand better what their affordability is.
Yes.
And that way, you can also solve another big problem for them, which is financing.
Great.
Okay.
Is there
Well
such
done.
an app?
Yes, there is in the UK.
There, like this one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
because-
there's several in the UK like that one. Yeah. Not that I know of yet, but I think somebody from XY Partners has launched something similar recently. It's called Sirius.
But it's not solving the one-click overdraft.
Not yet. Usually what happens, particularly with SMEs, is that you try to get access to their financial data, to get to understand their profile as much as possible, and the credit is the next step. And this is where you make money with SMEs. Similar, yeah, I guess it was a bit of an inspiration. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Okay, you'll be next.
Okay, sound check. No speakers here. So our company is called Co-Funder. So it's a financial assistant for CEOs that helps them keep track of their company finances, invoices, due dates, and also to access funding to cover up the costs, their monthly costs, if they can't cover up by the revenue of the companies. So how do we do that? We have access to all all your company expenditures and all your invoices. You have a place to track your invoices. Also, we share this info with financial institutions and fintechs in order to help you and give you a curated list of places where you can get funding and on what conditions. And also, it's gonna give you a dashboard and forecasts over your next months, depending on your past successes of your company. And also, you can have access to photo and voice invoice generation and tracking feature that would help you, like just upload some documents or tell who you want to send an invoice to, and to do it automatically for you. So it's going to be a best friend for a CEO that doesn't have an established accountant in a company, or and would help them get funding and alleviate some tasks, operational and administrative tasks.
Yes, perfect. Yeah, so the biggest problem for entrepreneurs is indeed wasting lots of time and effort on admin tasks and having to figure out things like invoices and sorting out what your cash flow is going to look like and things like that. So indeed, just solving that headache is just relieving a massive pain. And I think it's definitely something that is appealing to any small business in any market. I think it's relevant across really all markets. Small businesses have these needs, so well done. Okay. You guys were next, I think. Yeah, no, yes, no?
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, so we said that our financial mobile app helps busy entrepreneurs with financing and financial management by saving time and avoiding banks and providing a good understanding of the company's financial situation. So we're doing it by offering built-in financing tools for credits, loans, short terms, long terms, everything.
Is that from other providers or is that from your own funds?
We will have to decide on this.
You will have to decide, okay.
Yeah, I guess from other providers
it
will be a better idea.
Yeah.
And we would offer some good financial planning tools. Also, as our persona likes ChatGPT, we were offering anticipation tools based on previous records using AI, so that they will know what to expect, what budget they should expect, how to plan correctly for the future.
So sort of AI prediction of your
Yes,
cash
and also
flow.
an anomaly detection, so that when there are some extra expenses that were not planned ahead, the system will tell you that you need to stop.
There's something going on there.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Very nice. Well done. Okay, and last but not least.
Evening. We do not have a name for our app.
That's okay.
So our value proposition is our app helps young urban professionals with utility payments and P2P transfers by automating payment creation and simple account overview. Okay. So to do that, we will implement the possibility to have the card on file in the application, with which you can instantly pay in different venues. Okay. You can make P2P transfers based on your contact list by syncing with our app, and with a single click you can initiate a transfer to your friend or family. You can create recurrent payments, and you can have the possibility to save through automated rounded on payment. Okay. And a simple account overview in our app of your expenses, and a bigger overview and analysis of your expenses in the desktop app.
Sounds great, and I'm actually really glad that you mentioned the saving, because I think that's kind of one aspect that it gets forgotten, because everyone talks about, oh, you will see all your transactions and things like that, but actually lots of people struggle to save money. And just having that automated feature and ability to do that within an app easier, it just removes such a big headache in kind of trying to figure out how to save money properly. So, well done. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this exercise. If anyone wants to take their idea further into a business, I'm happy to talk to you after that, to provide any kind of advice for like half an hour or an hour. So yeah, thank you for coming along to this workshop. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm on LinkedIn, so anyone who wants to add me, feel free to do so. If you have any other questions or want to grab a coffee at some point, I'm very much open to the idea, assuming I'm in Chisinau. Or if you come to London at some point, again, happy to grab a coffee with you and show you around. So thank you, and I think there's some networking drinks following. Yeah.